Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. I am Karina Calhoun. I'm your expert life strategist. I am your host here at Go Be Great with Coach Karina, the podcast. I'm super stoked, y'all. This is the last episode of 2022. And I've got a really special guest. You all know all of my guests are near and dear to my heart because they come on with such fire, with such passion, showing their purpose. And today, we're not going to be disappointed yet again. We've got Miss Lea Williams. And so, Lea, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, and I'm so happy to be talking with you.
I am happy to be talking with you as well. Lea, where in the world are you?
I'm in Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara. You know, I have always wanted to go to the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast.
Yes.
And so one day I'll be able to do that. My daughter just went out to the West Coast. So she's 25. She's doing this traveling thing. And I'm like, girl, I'm not mad at you. Go for it. Do
Yeah,
what
exactly.
you should be doing.
Mhm.
So Lea, tell us how are you loving on the world around you these days?
I have a letter subscription called Chronicler X, and it sends out 2 letters a month to the subscribers, and each one is, first of all, it's returning people to the joy of receiving letters.
Mm,
It's also each letter is a little exploration, a little, "I'm taking you with me to an historic place." So it's a
mm.
way of exploring the world, but, you can keep your bunny slippers on and have your coffee by your side and go off to some place really wonderful and learn about it.
You know, a couple of things come to mind when you speak about that, Lea. And the first is so I come from the generation of writing letters. Okay.
Yes.
I used to write letters back in the day. My mother actually worked at the post office, retired from the post office. So I remember back in the day, hey, mom, can you get me a book of stamps when
Oh,
on
yeah.
your way home? And she would fuss at me, because working in the post office does not mean you're out front with the customers where the stamps are sold. And so that meant she would have to go to a different area to get the stamps. But nonetheless, she would buy me a book of stamps because I would send letters to family members and friends and
Yeah.
different. That's how we communicated back then. There was no cell phone, there was no text message, there was nothing of the sort, no pagers. You wrote a letter. You wrote
Yeah,
a letter. There
exactly.
was no email. You wrote a letter.
And you know what is so marvelous, Karina, is that not only how soulful it was to
Yeah.
write those letters, but the beauty of opening the mailbox and seeing a letter from somebody you loved. It just lifts your whole day because
Yeah.
yes, okay, you can send an email or you can send a text, but where's the soul in that? Where's the
Yeah.
love in that? And it's so impatient. You know,
Yeah.
you get a letter and it's like or you write a letter and there's a patient attention. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I am for you. And it
Yeah.
shows up in your mailbox.
And I remember because I wrote so many letters, you're right. I would go check the mail every single day because I would be expecting a letter from somebody from somewhere,
Mhm.
and that was the neat thing about it. But then also, I had to make sure my penmanship was on point
Yes.
because you can't send a letter to somebody and they can't read it.
Yeah.
So I think we've gotten away from so many of the simple things of life. Why did you start this?
It was really in my heart originally in 1999, and I intended it to be a travel column written as a letter. And that it didn't fit. It didn't fit with publications as they were then. And then COVID hit. We were all sent home, and I was like, I can go back to my dream now. And what that meant was that the world had changed in such a way that I could do what I wanted to do online. I could connect with people online and say, this is how you can get letters again. And remember letters, remember how great it was, and that the whole idea of the connection of, yes, I remember that, but I remember the joy. And that's what really spurred me on, is like, I want to share that joy. Because it's not worth doing if it's not a joy for somebody else. It's just, I might as well just write a journal. It's sharing that joy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the other thing that I said initially, there were two things that come to mind. The second thing is taking people on this journey with you and them being able to really take that in. So I am someone, I come from, again, the age where we read books.
Yes.
Lots of books.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember as a child, my mother would take me to the library, and I would get literally a stack of books as tall as myself. And within a few days, those books, I had read all of them, because I would start reading immediately. So I would read from the time the sun came up to the time after the sun went down. And so she would fuss at me every time, because I'd say, okay, Mom, I'm done. And she'd say, well, Karina, you've got the books checked out for this time span.
Right.
You can't read them all within 2 days and then want to go back, because, I was just so eager to read. And so the thing that I have understood about myself is, when I read, I am a visualist. And so when I read, I have found that a lot of times I can't differentiate if I read it or if I was actually there, because my mind actually takes me to where I am when I read.
Yeah, exactly. You're separating.
Yeah.
Separate. If you're riding a camel in Morocco, you're on the camel.
Yes. Yes. So I absolutely love that you're doing this, because those of us who enjoy that, we actually place ourselves there. And then I'm remembering when my daughter was young, she had, it was called Sam, and it was Flat Stanley. That's what it was. Flat Stanley, not Stan. It was Flat Stanley.
Flat Stanley.
Yes. And so she had Flat Stanley, and she sent it around and sent it around. And that was, to me, she's a kid, I'm the mom, but I was more intrigued by it, because Flat Stanley was traveling amongst our family and friends. So that kind of puts me in the mind of Flat Stanley.
Mm-hmm.
This is so amazing.
Well,
I love that you're doing
this is Flat Stanley for big people.
Yes.
This is like, well, it's like the latest letter was on the Los Angeles Central Library, which is incredibly historic. And it's going through the whole library. It's the murals, it's the way it smells, it's the way it feels to be outside, and why the gardens are that way. And it's like, it's me there, but it's with Karina. It's like we're getting lunch together. We're looking at that mural together. And so that feeling, I work to make sure that feeling, that camel being on the camel, that is part of your experience. It's part of your exploration. And for me, that's the love in it. That's the sharing. And without the sharing and the love, it wouldn't be worth doing. I would just write a book. You know what I mean? I would just write a book on historic places. It's that extra ingredient.
So, Lea, what has been your response, or the response, from folks regarding this, I would have to imagine, just me in my mind, I would have to imagine that everybody is loving this because it really breaks the monotony of the informational world that we have been thrust into. It breaks the AI, artificial intelligence world that we have been thrust into, because this just takes us back to a time where, and not even just back to a time, but takes us to a moment in time right now where we're able to experience so many different things on a personal, genuine, authentic level, which is so needed right now.
I know. I think one of the reasons people feel depressed and isolated and alienated and all those awful things that we keep applying to ourselves is there's no slowdown. There's
Mm,
no, there's no like, let me go have coffee with you. Let me
mm,
send you a letter. All these little things that were part of a slowdown world, part of the past. We thought we were très moderne, more. We didn't need that
yeah.
anymore. We would just send an email, boy, it was fast. And well, the problem is you are a spirit,
Yeah.
and your spirit is not happy with just information. Your
Yeah.
spirit needs to connect with your fellow humans.
Yeah.
It's like we as a species didn't change. We need each other.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons that I love who you are and what you do, Karina,
Oh,
is that
thank you.
you're about collaboration and
Mhm.
cooperation and the whole connectedness.
Yeah.
It Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. That so encouraging, because I truly believe, and the crazy part about all of this is that, and I talk about this frequently, I'm an introvert, but even as an introvert, I need other human beings. It doesn't mean I don't like or love humans. It just means I process life differently. And I think that when we all understand that we're all different and we all process life differently, but we need one another. We
Yes.
cannot thrive. We cannot live independent of other people. It is impossible.
Mhm. Well, it's unhealthy for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And going back to your question about response, I had 2 subscribers in a row tell me exactly the same thing, which was that they didn't get their letters and just read them. They got their letters and they put them aside. It was like,
Mm,
I'm gonna read this when I can just stop and savor it. You know, I'm gonna wait until it's quiet and I can just, have my coffee and read. It was like, I was amazed they were turning these letters into ceremonies. And I thought, that's that's the sort of thing you were talking about with, yeah, living in an AI, fast-paced, high information world, that you need something that lets you just stop and savor.
mhm. And that's so key because, just my brain, I'm just thinking of so many different things. And I am a part of a group right now, and periodically they will send out note cards and different little things, but it's always handwritten. Everything is always handwritten. And so it is the me understanding that someone actually took their time to sit down and write this, and that it's not just a simple, type it and then print it out multiple times and stuff it in a bag and send it on, but somebody thought, what is it that I want to say to Karina specifically? It really does something to my heart, and it makes me want to take that time out and not be rushed to read through it, and to really honor the love that they put into that moment of writing. So I
Mhm.
absolutely love that you are doing this. It is, I really feel like this is something that is much needed. And I do believe that you and I are probably going to be talking in the future, because this is something that I would absolutely want to continue to bring awareness to, because I truly believe in it. So, how can folks get in touch with you if they want to be added to the subscribers list?
The website is lettersforwanderlust.com. It's also on Facebook at Letters for Wanderlust. And then Instagram is letters.for.wanderlust. But that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Awesome. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah. I would love to. There's a comment section, of course, on the website. So I would love to hear from anybody. Anybody
I
who had
love it.
questions or thoughts.
So, what is your goal? I know you want to be able to spread this authenticity to the world, but in addition to that, what is your goal with doing this?
My initial goal is 1,000 subscribers. Next year, I'd also like to add a separate subscription written by a retired teacher called Mrs. Missive, that has the same kind of letters, but going to kids around the fourth grade age. I also want to do a podcast for people who are visually impaired, because
Mhm,
I really believe we need to include each other. I mean,
mhm,
that I don't want anyone left out for any
mhm.
reason. And then I also want to do a Spanish translation.
I
So
love it. I love, and I do hope and pray for all that you are endeavoring for. It is just so, it's overwhelming and breathtaking to know that, folks like you are out here doing this
thank you.
for the people, really. And so, Leah, any last words of wisdom for those that are listening?
All I can say is whatever you want to do, just be brave with it. Please
Mhm.
just set aside whatever fears you have, and just be brave and bold and savor how wonderful you are.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And Leah, thank you again. Again, you are our final episode for 2022. You have rounded it out in such an amazing way. Because as you all know, I love authenticity. I love connecting with humans. I love encouraging in just the totality of exhortation with one another. And what you're doing, Leah, is absolutely just that, as they say, the chef's kiss. So, folks, this has been another amazing, great episode of Go Be Great with Coach Karina. And I will see you all in 2023. Thanks, everybody. Bye. Hey, beautiful people. I do want to follow up this episode and let you know a couple of things. Number one, I did mispronounce our last guest's name. Her name is Lee, and it's spelled Lea, but pronounced as if it were Lee. So, Lee is who we had on the show this last episode, Lea Williams. So, with that being said, I do want to thank you all for listening, tuning in, sharing, being a part of the Go Be Great podcast this year, 2022. It has been an amazing year. We have had some brilliant, all of our guests have been brilliant in their own right here on the show. And I want to extend a genuine thank you to each and every one of you that have been guests and each and every one of you that have listened to the episodes. And I do want to let you know that for 2023, we uh, we are changing things up just a bit. We do plan to, instead of releasing 2 episodes per week, we will be going to 1 episode per week. And so more information will be released towards the beginning of next week. So Please stay tuned as we continue to make this podcast really relatable and beneficial for you who are listening. So, thank you again for rocking with us all of 2022 here at Go Be Great with Coach Karina, myself, and my team. Truly, truly thank each and every one of you. Bye, you all.